It is housekeeping Alex and Jeff.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I am Jeff Dawes. What is up, guys? All right, so we are here, and we're in all kinds of different places tonight. One of our, let's just say, one of our trusty family members of Martial Arts M Network made a little snafu on one of their podcasts. So we are here on YouTube, on Instagram. I hope you guys are enjoying. This is just another excuse of, hey, you need to be on all of our platforms, right? You need to watch us on Twitch. You need to watch us on YouTube. You need to be subscribed to our Instagram and, of course, Facebook. But we're live on Twitch.
You ain't gonna find us on Facebook tonight.
Not tonight. So, and we got a lot to talk about. So start sharing and telling everyone where to find us live tonight, so you don't miss out. All right.
Here's what's funny. All right.
Yep.
Is anybody who watches like podcasts live? This is all on YouTube anyway. Why is this nutty martial arts world like they want to just only exist in Facebook? What is that?
Yeah, I get what you're saying on that part. Yeah,
tell me another podcast you watch on Facebook.
I don't watch podcasts. I listen to podcasts.
Yeah, and I do too. And I used to just.
I know, yeah.
But I know now, like the ones that I do, like, why would I go on Facebook? Facebook, thank you for all what you've done. The Zucks, you're good. Thumbs up. Your empire, fantastic. Now let's go to YouTube. Come on, guys, we're here.
Right. All right. So YouTube, start following us live.
Go tell your friends. That's where we're at tonight.
And let's go. We got some. All right. So
we got fun one tonight.
We got a fun one, but we also let's start with something serious that was a big, just someone that we need to honor in our world of martial arts. All right. And that is the legacy of Ray McCallum. All right. So Ray McCallum passed yesterday, and this guy is a legend. He was the number one fighter for a good 2 to 3 years, right? And his legacy in martial arts doesn't just stop just from him being a great fighter. It's like the way he fought inspired so many.
We're talking about 100%
blood and guts era. We're talking about the person that put the attitude, the excitement into the sport. Ray McCallum did that, right? Share some of your things that you've learned about him. And
so, of course, growing kind of up where I did in Minnesota, I'm like on the opposite area of Ray McCallum because he's from Texas. However, those that know much about martial arts in Minnesota, it's primarily due to Larry Carnahan and John Worley, who are Texans. All right. So they had a pretty good relationship with Ray McCallum. And so they also, John Longstreet is a national karate black belt and was a champion competitor and kickboxer. And those two were really good friends. And so I actually got to watch a lot of tape. I remember I would go to like karate camp. And this is back in the day where you could just like drop your kids off at just this weird, swamp lake campground and just leave them there for 4 days and be like, oh yeah, when do we pick you up? Like 8 o'clock on Sunday next week. All right. Sounds good. All right. Go have fun doing karate. And just not even talk to anybody, like nothing. Just be like, what are you doing there? I don't know. Yeah, have fun. They'll figure it out. They'll feed you something. Don't die. All right. But that's what we did. So then it was literally like the Wild West. Like, I don't know what we do. Do we take a shower? I'm 11. I'm 12. Like, I probably didn't care about that anyway. Right.
Yeah.
So they just, but where I'm getting at with this is John Longstreet was kind of in charge of that. And then he had this old school, like Baby Got Back TV, right? And he had a VHS player with a ton of old tapes. And he let like a group of us just stay up as late as we wanted, as long as we were doing push-ups, karate, or watching tape. And I'm like, all right, well, this is all I would want to do if I was awake anyway. Right?
Right.
I'm like 12 years old doing karate. What did you think I was gonna do? So yeah.
Crazy.
So I watched because they were friends. I had a lot of their tapes, right? That's when I first got introduced to like guys like Robert Harris, you know,
Yes.
and other fighters like this in that same era. I had a conversation probably about 10 years ago, right? About Ray McCallum. And I was talking to who was it? I was talking to Ross Cook. And I'm like, dude, this dude was an athlete who was good at martial arts, right?
Right.
And I'm trying to explain, and I'm not really getting it, right? And he ends up looking up. There's a fight of Ray and Scorpion on YouTube from like Bluegrass, something like this, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, this is it. And
I remember
this is what it's like, right? Because he did have a really good fast like hook kick, ground kick, right? So he was good at that, all right? So at one point in that match, like Scorpion like stumbles and falls down, and Ray is in a full sprint right from across the stage, and then jumps up and tries to double stomp right on his face, and just Scorpion just happens to roll away, and Ross is losing his mind like, what is this? I'm like, oh, forgot. Yeah, the rules are you can hit them when they're on the ground, and in some tournaments it doesn't even matter how you hit them, right?
Correct.
So he just wanted to do it as fast and as viciously as possible, right? And yeah, he was like, this is amazing. I didn't even think guys could fight like this. Like, I didn't think that I was allowed. I'm like, oh yeah, things that were allowed are way different then.
Right. Yeah, it's so different just looking back at videos that way, but like you got to appreciate what's awesome is like it's those two in the final, and the place is going nuts, right? Like every single thing that he's doing, that they do, like people get a ooh and ah or whatever, it's wild. So I tell you, like I've met him a couple times, and every time he was nothing but awesome and gracious to me. Really just I always get taken aback when people who we look up to and we aspire to like give you props, and it's like it's a crazy thing, right? And so there was a few tournaments for a while where he was showing up at, and he was coming to and hanging out with Jerry Fontanez, and those two were just cutting up like it was just it was just so much fun, and they were just talking old times, and you know what, like again he was before Jerry, right? Before and so you're talking about Jerry talking like this is the guy who I looked up to. This is one of the guys before my generation, So it's just amazing,
that makes sense.
amazing just how respected he was. I went to many things in Texas, and you know what? Like this guy is a Texas legend, and
100%.
The respect that everyone in that area shows to him is amazing. And so again, so it was a very sad when I saw that happen, saw that today that he passed away. I knew he had been sick. I knew there were some things that everyone was, keeping everyone informed about. And so it's really, really wanted us to just take a moment to just, share about him, because he was one of the innovators of our sport, man. Just like when people say, hey, we need more rivalries or we need more exciting fighters that bring
he had them.
He had it, and so
And there's probably some we can't talk about.
Correct.
There's one specifically I know. Not gonna go well.
Correct. So again, rest in peace, Ray McCallum, and prayers to your family and all the people that loved and missed you. So
I got a question. Since when you brought this up, like you know, he's a legend in Texas. And like the moment you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, obviously that's a no brainer. Do you think he's like on the Texas sport karate Mount Rushmore? Think about
I would,
that. Texas?
to
I mean, like,
me,
who's there?
I know that's really hard, but I mean, you're talking about as far as in the sport karate realm. To me, the first ones would be him and Linda Dinley.
I was gonna say Linda. Okay, so Linda,
yeah,
and then
you got Ray. I mean, some of the people that people may not know were from there. You know, like again, Jeff Smith could be there, but he's still known
but
as the DC Bomber, right?
I
Like
think you
he's
got to
known
call
as-
him DC.
Yeah, I think so too. So
I think the only one, if you're thinking like way back, would be like Pat Worley, maybe. But that was
maybe.
for a couple. And I don't actually. I think he was in Minnesota by that time. He was winning all that stuff.
Right, and
Because he
so
went there in '73. I
we
think he
got
was the
Chuck,
champ in like '75. So I don't.
Right.
I don't really know if it was him either.
and you got Chuck, of course.
Well, okay. So then,
Yeah.
and Chuck was legit because it was karate tournaments,
Correct.
right? So
Yeah, I mean, and then you know, there's a lot of great people from the '90s on in Texas. You know, so it's tough.
I think.
But as far as
we say for sure, I think now that we're having this dialogue, Ray, Linda,
yeah,
Regina Thompson.
she could be in there, but I feel like there's somebody else we're missing out
I
on.
know, like a few decades of people, maybe.
Yeah, and so so there's it's wild, man. So the history there is just awesome. So, well, just wanted to make sure we give a shout out, and guys, go search some of the videos. All right, talk to someone and learn about our history of our sport. I'm telling you, some of you guys on here that are listening, you would have loved talking to someone like Ray McCallum. All right.
Oh yeah, go watch that one now, and then yeah, do that. Insiders, go check that one out, and then comment back, being like, "What in the wild world of sports was this?"
Right. Correct.
Or maybe you're like, "Oh, I would have beat those guys," or I don't, that would not have been an easy task.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Before we get into Quebec, because we got a lot, because we know, it's right after a big NASCAR tournament, and Quebec Open is a great one. There was also a lot of different regional tournaments in the area, and one of the tournaments that I want to give a shout out to is the Southern Showdown. And so what they did, and again, they did a lot of new things and innovative things at this event, right? It's a TCT event in North Carolina. I've been several times, but they said, you know what, we're going to have a big breaking event. We're going to have, I think they gave like $4,000 or $5,000 to breaking, and they brought in they invited some of the top people, like Larry Fields, one of the greatest to ever do it, right? And several of the top people who are currently, in the ISKA, as well as North Carolina. Like I've shared many times, it's a big breaking area because of people like the Addisons who put the tournament on, Doug Armstrong, and a lot of different people in that area that love breaking, right? And it was always a big breaking area for the NBL. I mean, I think North Carolina and South Carolina won almost all the NBL titles from a certain time, right? The other big state was Texas, who was big in breaking. And then also, I believe Utah was very big as well. So
I don't know enough about the breaking, the whole world. And I think is the U.S. Open the big one because they're just on the biggest stage. Are they the biggest?
That's probably the biggest, but there's also a lot of big breaking organizations up in the north too, like in Pennsylvania area and New York. You have Master Breaker up in New York that was known for so many different things. Setting them on fire and breaking ice and breaking boards and breaking all kinds of stuff, right?
I will set ice on fire and break that. That I'll do.
yeah, but that's not. I didn't mean it like that, but yeah, that's funny. I said that in the wrong order. But so they had this sponsorship called, I think it was called Breaking Point, and they set this up, and they did 3 different breaking competitions. The creative breaking, right, which is the whole, setting up a bunch of different breaks and doing it in the most creative fashion. They had a lot of high-level people there, and Larry Fields came out on top, and I watched it. Of course, Alex Reyes is there, right, and he's pushing breaking right now, and Point Five was there, and he put that video out there, and I'll tell you, like, I was impressed with his performance. It was great. The next thing they did was the power kicking, where you're setting up and you'd have to do a side kick through as many as you can. And so the side kick winner of that one, and I don't know, here's
Have you ever done this?
No, I haven't never done that. Hold on. Zach Holyfield, he's a blue belt, won the whole thing. All right. And breaking through, I don't know how many. I know some of the other people I believe I saw Larry Fields broke 12 of 14. So he broke more than that. All right. So he broke like 14 out of 14 or something crazy like that, or 13 out of 14. I don't know. But the way it is, it's like a sudden death. Like, all right, I did my second one. I beat yours. Now you have to beat mine. And they just kept going and going. And so he won the kicking one, right? And then our good friend Anthony Altruo, I always say his last name wrong.
Turo?
He's been involved. He's been breaking for a while. He's getting back into point fighting. He tore his shoulder up and just got back into, this is his first time back since surgery, which I believe he wasn't supposed to come back, right? Like this soon. Okay. And so he's in there, and he goes and he's going head to head with Larry Fields for this final, and he breaks all 14 with the downward elbow and finish it almost
No,
like
wait. How big are these bricks?
they're big slabs, yeah.
The big old ones, right?
Yeah, I believe so. So yeah, I mean, and a lot of the videos are posted on Facebook or on Point Fighter Live. So big shout out, to the Addisons and their sponsorship for putting on this big event. They did it this Friday. They presented all the awards Saturday. They gave, it's good to see breaking get that love and also get the cash, right? Because I tell you what, there's nothing more expensive to compete in at tournaments than breaking. So
what do you mean more expensive? I don't get that.
So how much do you think everything costs to bring all those boards and slabs?
I never thought.
No.
I would just look at the whole like competition and go, I'm good. And I literally never put one thought into any of it. The only time
the money they may have just covered, honestly. And you got to think of how to they have to carry it in a trailer, right? So yeah. Yeah. So it's wild, man. But I know, didn't think about that, huh?
No, I never thought about it. The only time I ever saw a breaking competition where I'm like, I think I want to do that, is when I think it was like 98 when like Kim Do did the competition at the US Open, right? Like the creative breaking, not like the power breaking. That's not a Kim Do thing, right?
Oh, no.
Which was cool because I think he did like a 720, broke a board, and that's 1998.
Yeah.
That's not 2008.
Right.
That was 1998. We're like,
correct.
10 people were even doing the move. So,
right. Which is funny because we're talking about that today too.
We are going to talk some 720s. It's not even July. Boom.
Wow.
But I don't know, man. It's got to be tens of thousands of dollars just to do this. But it's a hobby. You're going to do things like that.
Yeah.
Because you're going to do something with your time.
A hobby
you got to do something with it.
Breaks your hands and your feet and all that stuff, but whatever.
Yeah.
That's why I say only people in the South really, really good at this stuff because we nuts in the South. Okay. All right.
I don't know. Are you the South? I don't know where.
Listen, I am the South. All right? I'm
I
Southern
don't know if you
Virginia,
are.
and I am around all of these people in this. I grew up
I
competing
think you
in the
have
South.
identity issues as to where you are
Obviously,
geographically.
no. Listen, I travel all over. Shut your face, man. Shut your all
Well,
right. So
I mean that like sincerely, but like 'cause
I
you're in
know.
the East.
Yeah,
You
I'm right in the
actually
middle.
you are. You're like kind of like Virginia, so you're you're in the DMV.
People here are more Southern than like people in Georgia. Okay.
How do you mean? Tell me this, because I obviously have never
Accents,
lived in the South.
the
Okay,
way people live. Like
well, tell me
we're
what that
in
is.
farms. There's mountain people around here. We
What?
have all the moonshiners. You know,
What?
are you serious? You didn't like the main moonshiners, like, and everything came from this area and North Carolina, and like NASCAR was created around this area from people taking moonshine back and forth from Virginia to North Carolina. Like, yeah, it's a lot, man. It's crazy out here.
I don't know, man. I don't know how. What I don't. I don't think I'd survive. I think I would stick out like a sore thumb everywhere I went.
Yeah. Well, I'm
You
just
didn't even refute it. You just
yeah, you would. So two of the all right, I'm just gonna say two of the not worst, but most insane accents I've ever heard of were Georgia and then Martinsville, Virginia. Okay, which is about an hour from here. So it's not that bad, which is where Doug Little and those guys are from. So
I didn't
yeah,
think he had a crazy accent.
he
Or is
doesn't.
it just where he's lived? Just
No,
the area. I get
he
it.
wasn't there originally. Like he was also in like
Oh,
at one point and stuff too. But there's some accent, like some of the accents that I went to college in Radford University. People, yeah, wild man. So, but yeah, so there we go. We talked about accents. We talked about breaking. We talked about Ray McCallum. All right, so we're gonna get into Quebec Open. So Quebec Open, as you know, was a different one this year, and honestly, the turnout still looked awesome.
yeah.
Uh, they did all the NASCA divisions for forms of weapons for NASCA, and then all the fighting divisions were WACO. So that was a big change. People didn't know what to happen with that. Um, they had 28 rings running, which is crazy.
But by Waco,
Yeah,
that has to just mean that like the structure and the rules, right?
correct.
Because they probably still had to toe the line, right? I don't know exactly because I wasn't
The
in the
line to what?
building. Meaning like they probably still count their wins in NASCA rankings.
No, that's no.
Nothing.
No, where have you been when we announced this, man? Where have you been? That's what we're saying. Yeah, it was not rated by NASCA in fighting, just the forms of weapons divisions.
That I actually kind of like this.
Yeah.
I actually
Yeah.
really like this. All right.
So
If you don't like it, you don't have to go. This is
right.
actually kind of cool.
Right. So that's what they did this year. I tell you, like, there was a lot of different winners this year. All right. And some people winning their first overalls. People, the way they did it was a little different. They ran a lot of the forms and stuff off till the end, which is good. But it also certain people that, haven't been on stage, haven't gotten that moment. It would have been nice to let them do that, to see that. So that's always, a hard part. But, I want to give a shout out to Mitchell. How did I just forget his last name? My gosh. See, I start talking everything else, and Polides in here, so he's gonna. But Mitchell, he won everything. Mitchell Street, my bad, and he's
That's just
won.
what I was gonna say.
He's won everything this weekend, and he won. Korean division, the traditional forms, the traditional challenge. Then he went and won the traditional grand. He went and won the boys, the male overall grand, beating the CMX winner, and then made it to stage to compete against the female overall.
Damn.
Which was Pia, right? And they did boy and girl versus each other for the overall, and he won that. So I'm not always a big fan of the boy girl on stage since it's been a thing, but that's the way it was when I was growing up, right?
I was
But
just gonna say.
so like we would do. Literally, there was just 7 divisions in NASCA when I first started, and some tournaments would divide it up to where there was 14, where they would do male and female for regular forms. Musical wasn't divided up, and so some tournaments
Some of the weapons weren't.
Sometimes we had 7. That this was for forms. Weapons was 4 divisions or maybe 5. And then some divisions, some tournaments we had 14. And a lot of times if we had 14, all 14 weren't going to stage, they would divide it up a little bit. And the only time that I remember that was my first was compete. They put all of us on stage because they just didn't run it at that time to where they could get it done. So Mitchell's an amazing competitor. Congrats to him. Congrats to Pia for being on stage. She also won her fighting Waco fighting championship over there for the open weight against Sandrine.
She is a pretty talented fighter. I think she could be even a lot better. Sometimes when there's high level forms competitors that are also good at fighting, it almost feels like they intentionally almost just like, let's just dial it back on our fighting. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Why? You're so incredibly talented. Why would you not give it everything you got? And sometimes I have heard this. I have verbally heard this or audibly heard this. They're like, I really don't want to get hurt, in fighting. I'm like, time the heck out. The crap you do to your body will injure yourselves 100 times more than getting hit with a sidekick, which is what you're afraid of.
Yeah.
You go out there and tear your ACL and be like, had to land the twist. You're afraid of a sidekick. No, but I think she could be really, really good.
Oh yeah, I think so. And she's shown that as being just a dominant fighter in the juniors. So, she's gonna have a big step up when she moves up. So no, they did not do lightweight and heavyweight grands. It was just open weight. I don't know what the money was. The open weight for male was Bailey versus Jason Perez. So I believe, from Florida, right? And so this is someone that you've said, can't wait to see him really grow into the adult division. And this dude did it. He went all the way to the finals against Bailey. Bailey came out winning. On the women's side, we got Savannah getting to the finals again after, a big weekend there. And she ended up losing to the high level fighter from Bulgaria that they brought out. I cannot remember her name. There we go. Alexandra Georgieva. Thank you so much.
I remember. I remember hearing about this.
Yes.
So I think I saw some clips as well. She's pretty good.
Yes. So that was exciting, right? To see that. Another pickup that happened over the weekend that they showed up was Luis Picky, right? He was from Fighting for Legend, right? He was one of the ones that won Waco Worlds and Juniors, has been just an amazing fighter, right? Some we've talked about plenty of times on here. He is now on Top 10 USA. So he is with that great lineup of junior fighters like, Malachi and like El Java's son and those guys from the Ben school, right? So that's going to be exciting for them. It makes sense as they are, focused on the Waco side, and he's someone who wants to continue that Waco push. So,
I was kind of thinking like a month ago, I'm like, what is Top 10 USA? Like, what are they doing? Are they coming? Are they going to keep going? Are they going to do this? And then, Java had that, Herculean performance, with the seniors, and you're like, dang, why don't you go do some of that with the kids again, Java, you vampire who doesn't age. But then also wondering, like, what's going on? Are we gonna? But they always do a pretty good job of starting really young and just keeping them. So I was looking at I was just looking in the wrong places.
Well, and the thing is, people forget that who won team fighting, men's team fighting at AKA? Top 10 USA.
Yeah. I did
You
forget
know,
that. I did.
the whole Ben's team, right? And I believe I don't know if they won this weekend, but I know they were in the finals. So help me out on that one. But so you know what, like I still think it worked out for them doing Waco for the fighting. And I look at the numbers for, some of the traditional divisions are still very big, but the numbers, yes, Malachi is our future. I'm going to talk to him, talk about him in a second too, because congrats to him being on stage a second term in a row for his weapons while also having an injury from fighting and kept going. So I was talking to his dad about that. He's going to be out a couple weeks, but he's continuing to push through. So congrats to Malachi. What was I talking about? Oh, I tell you what, like we've seen, at the 18 plus male CMX divisions are solid, right? The talent is crazy.
More than
But,
solid. I think this is the deepest it's ever been.
Oh, I don't know about that, but it
because
definitely,
of also it's high.
definitely is,
I
right?
shouldn't say the word deepest.
Yeah.
I
Don't
should
say.
say, yeah. Sometimes I get a little carried away.
I'm just going to say the numbers. A lot of times you think, all right, there's a lot of high level people. The numbers aren't that great though, or they're solid, or they're good. This tournament though, they were huge, right?
Yeah.
And so the adults in this area, it's like they're really pumped up. This is like their shot to go against all four, of the top guys from Paul Mitchell, right? And whoever else is coming. And Rashad and those guys. So they showed out. Again, it was Esteban's weekend, winning a lot of those titles. So congrats to him. And also congrats to Noah Sansite making the stage for his first time as an adult. So and thank you guys for supporting us on here. I know it's a different platform, what you guys are used to, or you're listening to us on podcasts like most people should when you're listening to podcasts. Sorry, I'm just kidding. We want your support everywhere.
No, see, Jeff is doing this. You know what, guys? Chime in. I was telling Jeff, because we're not on Facebook, all right? So we're on the Twitchies, we're on the YouTubes, and I think we're on Instagram too. Yes. All right. So I'm like, you know what? When I watch a podcast, because there's a few podcasts that I watch, like I was just watch them on YouTube. All right. Like I watch us and the other podcasts that I watch, I always watch them on YouTube. Like, do you ever go to Facebook and watch a podcast? Like, who does that? But for some reason, our crazy martial arts world, everybody does it. Like, why? And you know what? I would be willing to bet that we're maybe the only one that they watch on Facebook. Right?
I know that their main thing is on Facebook too. So like some of the other ones, Sport Karate Zone and even
no. I mean martial arts podcast.
Oh, right.
Like when I say we, I should have meant that. I should have said that.
Yeah,
like, martial arts podcast. Like, for some reason, it's like this is just the world where we exist. Then we go everywhere else. We just forget about it. Like, no, we're everywhere, man.
So in the pro wrestling thing, like it's a big thing to be on someone's Facebook and watching them. And I guess technically that's a podcast, but watching them watch. So you say like right now, I'm actually watching Raw. They would be watching Raw and going live, like what we've done before with certain shows, right? Like we did, remember, what was that? Oh, we watched Colby Northcutt's fight once. That was a long time ago.
That was a while ago.
Yeah. And so
that was like 4 years ago.
Probably more than that. Yeah. So yeah. So, but people still do that on those platforms, right?
Well, yeah, that's just like what Travis was doing on Twitch.
Right.
Which is, again, awesome.
Right.
So yeah, stop going just there. Come find us on the YouTubes.
All right, so a couple of the juniors, man, I tell you, there were some new names winning in the junior divisions. I tell you what, Gavin Dollarhite again won all of his divisions and weapons, right? And then, you know what? It just didn't happen in the Grands. That happens, right? And so Trey Dietrich won that for the CMX.
Well, talk
You
to me
also
about it, because I didn't get a chance to see this. So tell me what it was like.
I didn't get to see it either. I'm because I didn't even get to tell you what I
You're
was
going
doing.
back and reliving it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
got you.
Well, I'm literally in my hotel in Ohio because I'm in Ohio teaching seminars to Taekwondo schools, right?
And then you're
teaching
nerding out on karate tournaments at the same
right,
time.
right. And I'm looking at Juventus and looking at the results and all that, right?
You're the best,
And
man.
and
You're the best.
so, oh man, yeah, I'm the best. Shelly definitely wasn't happy about me on that part, but but yeah. So, the I was watching, who won, what was going on. So, Gavin, went out and just killed it and won all of his weapons, won his traditional ones. So congrats to him for that. Congrats to Trey Dietrich, to Nolan, all these guys that are going out there and continuing to push the envelope. Again, where I said Pia earlier, but I tell you, someone in the 16, 17 female, and then ended up winning all the CMX grands was Lila from freestyle. All right, so she's out there beating the top competitor, Avery, and winning her first overall grands. I think maybe even her first time winning against some of those competitors, and went out there and won the overall grands. So congrats to her. Well, or her sorry, not overall grands, but her CMX grand championships, right? Pia ended up winning both of the female overalls after, but again, like making that big step to push and to get a win is huge, right? Especially your first ones. And it's not like
Oh, you don't never
the
forget
top
your first
people, especially it wasn't like the top people weren't there, right? So the freestyle guys this weekend, not just on stage for their demo, but individually, they were stepping it up and they were putting in the work. So I know they had their little guy. I need some help with the names, but he won the 13 under his grand championships and the all around, the overall. So congrats to those guys. And those are, I mean, I tell you, man, Team Freestyle and their group they do a great job and they're all super awesome. So yeah, John, I mean, the men's musical weapons, like those divisions were just huge, right? And they were going at it. So congrats to those guys. I tell you what, man, I always loved some of the best that I mean, I remember, I mean, obviously right now, Esteban, but like
Yeah.
going against people like John Francois LaChapelle, man, and that dude was just so sick back in the day. And going to Quebec or going to Montreal or going to even like Rhode Island in those tournaments where they were all at, they just have a lot of good talent,
And
and
that's the thing, is sometimes when you're in our circle of competitors and people, when you go to an event in a new-ish type of city, and
yes, sir.
then
Congrats, Leopold.
you see like other competitors, when we see them and we don't know who they are, yeah, we don't expect that they're gonna be that competitive. And then you see them perform and you're like, what the hell? How are you
Right.
just showing up to this one? Where the hell
Right.
have you been all year?
Correct.
And it's exact. And you don't know, like they do their, especially in forums, like they do their intro and you're like, okay, all right, guy's starting out, maybe he could be something good. And then like one section in, you're like, where the hell has this guy been? Then you start doing one of these things and you're like tapping people next to you, like, do you know who the hell this guy is? Like, oh man, I've never seen this guy before. What the heck? And then that's it. You're like, what? Huh? What? Huh? All right.
Correct. Also, Demi Rodriguez, congrats to her. She was on stage several times. And then also Noelle from Infinity as well won her. What did you say? Yeah, Jellison. She won her female grand. John Politi, where are you at? What's the girl's name that won the female weapons CMX grand? She's part of MAC. So put her name down there.
Oh.
And then yes,
I
of
don't
course,
have the name. I'm seeing the face.
the men's overall traditional. And the women's overall traditional, big wins on both of those. So Matthew Grushia, congrats on winning. And also congrats to Rose Rume for winning the traditional grand. So great job to those two competitors. She won the weapons and the forms, and Matthew won the forms. We got Esteban winning. So if I'm missing some people, guys, let me know. I don't know who won the men's traditional. I know Noah was up there. I believe that Dawson was up there with him. So, and I think he won that one. So yeah. So big weekend out there. We're gonna get in this talk. I'm going to share just a couple of different things that I did over the weekend because, again, like I said, I went up to Asian Sun Martial Arts, which is in Hudson, Ohio. Okay, so about 30 minutes outside of Canton. Okay, so Dawson won.
Going to Canton?
I didn't end up going to Canton. I wanted to, but I didn't. So Leah won. Congrats to her. So I'm going up there. I met these guys in the AAU. I went up to this is the same school that I went for the AAU traditional forms training camp, right?
Got you.
And these guys, they want to transition to NASCA. So they are,
or at least be able to perform at that level like that.
Right. So they brought me in to say, all right, these are the forms we're doing. What changes we need to make? What can we do?
Show us how to do it like that.
Right? And here's something as well, because I'm doing this in 2 weeks to another school in Maryland. And I'm going to start doing this a lot, offering this on both ends too. NASCA people going to AAU, because I have about 3 or 4 doing that this year, going to nationals for the first time. And so, but what the coolest thing was that, all right, we're going to bring you in. You're going to do 2 hours with our instructors, because they have 7 schools within 15 minutes. All of them are within 10 to 15 minutes of each other, all within this small little area.
Whoa. Repeat what you said.
Yeah.
They 7 schools.
7 schools,
within
all within all the towns that are like 10 minutes this way, 10 minutes this way, 5 minutes this way, 7 minutes. I mean, or
do you
miles,
know what that just proves to people out there? The angry, ornery martial arts school owner that's grumpy because there's another karate school 2 miles away.
Correct.
Shut what they call the heck up.
Right.
This
so
7
they brought
schools
all their
15 minutes. Wow.
Yeah. So I taught all the instructors of the different schools and went over some of the forms and showed them, okay, these are the ways to do this. This is the way I do Quebec. This is the way these are certain things. And it was awesome. And then I did an hour session with some of the students later on. Then I came out the next day, did an hour session. Then I did another 2-hour session. So I did about 6 hours of seminars, and was awesome. Was a blessed weekend, and excited to do it again. And so again, what they're also great at, which is funny because most of these guys, you would think, all right, if they're into traditional forms, maybe they're going to be into point fighting or something. But their big thing is Olympic sparring, but they don't do sport pumse. They do traditional forms. So they have a team, and their team is either Olympic sparring or traditional
forms. Go back.
Yeah.
Sport pumse, traditional forms. Explain the difference.
It's 2 separate things. So sport pumse is just WT forms done in a sport way where they've changed it and they have different rules and different things for that, right? That's what sport pumse is that you see in the USAT, right? Yeah, right. And AAU offers traditional forms, meaning you get to do the WT forms the way they were intended to be years ago. They don't have to be a certain time, and this technical thing has to be here and here and here and here. This is the way that this is the way we were taught it before all the changes. So we're going to do it that way. When you do choreo, you do a side kick and you actually throw the side kick to the knee and then to the head. That was the way it was originally done. Sport pumse, they don't do that. You just kind of
they just go Ba-bum.
Yeah. So that's what I mean.
Sport
and then
Pooms.
ITF,
Okay, now I'm
and
getting
then
it.
Tang Sudo. There's 4 different forms that you can do in traditional forms in the AAU Taekwondo. That's why when people, there's nothing like, unfortunately, if the AAU had something like it internationally, it would be huge, because there isn't really. It's the closest thing to like WKF, because it brings all the different styles of Taekwondo together. And you have a WT division, you have a ITF division, you have a Tang Sudo division, and then you have the open where all of them compete against each other. So anyways, so I'm watching their Olympic sparring, and they are one of the top schools in Olympic sparring AAU, and they've also done well in USAT. They go to different ones, and their their coach has been coach of the year many times. And you know what? I'm not necessarily someone who's like, I'll never do that. I'll never have my students do that. I don't like it. And then I started watching, and I'm like seeing how he's coaching and how, they do it. And then some of the things I'm like, do they know what they're talking about, or why they're doing certain things? And then I stop and I listen to him coaching them. I'm like, okay, yeah, we could do this. There's a strategy to it. There's a mindset to it. It's not just throwing things just for no reason, right? And so I really appreciated it. That was one of the cool things for me was watching them do their Olympic sparring training. So I did a lot of stuff. I taught a lot of different people this weekend.
You also see coaches that have a plan, and they have a exact strategy.
Yeah.
It's just a stupid plan and a bad strategy.
There's that too. No, I agree. I agree. But in this case, it made me understand why they are one of the better ones. Not just they have a lot of students.
Makes sense.
They go at a high level. At least for their competition, like their competition class for level 3, which is their highest, is 4 days a week. So, and then 2 days a week if you're at level 1, like the basic program. So you're there, you're training, and it's 2 to 3 hour trainings, 4 times a week. So they're going into it. So I'm just excited to see that growth, be a part of that. So they're going to be at the battle and at US Open. So I'll be around. I'm going to be busy at both of those tournaments this year. So hopefully I'll have some news over the next week about something coming up at the US Open as well. So 4 guys doing that. Also, this Sunday, I'm going to be doing an online seminar, 6 p.m. Ultimate kicking again. So working creative kicks, traditional kicks, and the focus on how to land out of your kicks properly for both forms, right? Focusing on the landings, rechambering.
That's big
things
deal.
And how to prepare your body for that. So I'm gonna be working that. So again, if you guys want information, again, you can Zelle me 434-610-3244. It's $30 for the camp for the seminar, or message me. Yeah, I know I'm doing it really small this time, really just to get everybody in there for this hour. It's just an hour, so we'll have some fun online.
Dude, you got Jeff Santa Claus over here just handing gifts out.
No, so message me about that, guys. And then yeah, so lots going on, going to be great. I'm just, like I said, man, I'm busy. I'm enjoying what I do. I'm passionate about what I do, and just pushing the sport forward. All right. So before we want to get into this?
I am itching to get into these next 2 topics like big time, because I want to do that one if we can.
All right, Travis, get on here because you asked us.
Well, don't we know we got to do our 720s?
Are we doing it at the end or now?
All right, then let's do the one with Travis right now, because I really want to do that. So it's
okay. I will join.
I don't know how to do it.
Okay, I'll bring up the topic because I had the conversation. I had the conversation in my head for myself. Okay, so I'll bring it in. All right. It is no doubt that right now, most people will consider Bailey as the best fighter around. Okay.
Yep.
And when that happens, people start instinctively starting to compare and say he's, what level he is, So I'm not going to go. Most people talk about who's the greatest point fighter of all time. You're going to start with Raymond and Nasty.
Yep.
More than likely, you're going to be running around those two. And if you're older, you may go with Joe Louis or Joe Louis more than likely.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I'm not going to put those three in there. But where would you start to put Bailey in this judge? Because honestly, I thought about this because I think he started fighting in the men's division in 2018, maybe.
No,
2018.
I thought it was 2016. Well, no. Okay, no. Well,
no, it wasn't 2016. I think it was 2018 because it was
Here's
before the
why I say
pandemic. We started in 2019 and with the podcast.
Yeah.
So I think it was 2018.
It was 2018. Yeah.
I think it was 2018 then he started. So that puts him at 7 years. All right. 7 years of competing and winning grands in open weights. At this point, the question is, where do you rank him? Is he in the top 10? Do you put him in the top 5? Or do you put him above Ross or Trevor or Pedro or the Bradys? Like, where do you start to put him in this realm of
what he's accomplished? Yeah,
what he's accomplished as a sport martial artist.
So
I'm going to step out of here.
I think the way you brought it up before was perfect. When you were like, Alex, do you have your top 10 like all time?
Yeah.
And
Do you have your top 10?
I have a top 10.
And then when you do
eliminated,
but my mind went to the same.
Or are you going to put him
same
behind?
place? My mind went, yeah, I got my top 10. But then as soon as the words left my mouth, I'm like, ooh. But I think
at this point he's entered that conversation of top fighters. I'm not gonna say top 10 because I don't know where you people put him.
Right.
But
all right,
he's entered that conversation of at least top 20. I would think at least top.
I would
15.
say in the top 10. I mean,
all right.
I mean, what he's accomplished, there's not many that have.
I can't.
And so I mean, definitely top 10. I mean, Lee says 5. He could be top 5. I mean, it's one of those things, right? Now we'll talk about what I said earlier is, so when you look at, so for me, I actually would look at and compare him to people in the 90s more than people in the 80s and 2000s, because similar to then there wasn't as many overall grands in the 90s. It was divisional grands. So it was the lightweight, the middleweight, and the heavyweight. The Diamond still did the overall, except 2 years or 3 years they divided
2015 is when they started dividing it. So if you really think about it, we had 14 years, 15 years maybe of this. What a real overall is. It was was the best overall. So that's what's nutty. In the history of our sport, there was 14 or 15 years where we knew this was the one person at the end.
Yeah.
You know?
But before that,
way before that, obviously we did. You know?
Yeah. In the 80s it was, So
yeah.
So I mean,
I think you're right. Yeah, because then
you have to look at him versus them first on what he's accomplished. So again, as much as a lot of, and some people still think that Pedro's the greatest fighter they've ever seen. You have people in the 90s that say that. I would still say
you would have a tournament where Pedro would be the lightweight champion.
Right.
And Anthony Price would be the heavyweight champion. And she said at that time, I don't know who would be the middleweight. I don't know.
I think Mafia was a lot of times.
Yeah.
Or Ronald sometimes.
Could be Ronald Brady for sure. Right. So
Mike P, So yeah.
Mike P.
Yeah. So I mean it's wild, man.
So here's the only retort to yours, Jeff. There was no open weight.
There wasn't.
And he's won a lot of open weights.
He's won a lot of open weights.
To put it, he's won a lot of open weights. And then he went overseas, and now he's winning a lot overseas in Waco.
So as far as to me, there's almost the only person to compare him to when it comes to what he's done overseas in Waco is Raymond. And then maybe Nasty after that, right?
And Nasty,
and again, Nasty mostly did the Waco World stuff. I don't know if he went that much to, again, the landscape's a lot different, than what it was. A lot of those tournaments.
Yeah. And the fighters over there were a lot different. They weren't as good. They weren't as good back then.
Correct. So again, for me, I would compare him. I would look at him versus those first. Then I would start looking at where he was with the other ones, right? So, I mean, I would put him over.
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Pedro's probably my favorite. I still would put him over Pedro. I would put him. You know, it's hard. The Anthony Price thing, that's a hard one. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Jeff. I'm gonna ask you a direct question. Do you put him over Jack?
Yeah, definitely. They're funny.
I did not think you were going to say yes.
Yes, I would. So,
Alex, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you put him over Jason?
That's a hard one.
I
know that was a very difficult one.
Yeah.
For me, just thinking about it.
In my mind, I'm going through the names, and that's one where I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
See, Jason to him over Jason to me would not be that difficult because Jason had that run of 01 to maybe like 04.
Yeah, it was
2000. Yeah, maybe 2000 to
04.
2004. Yeah,
he wasn't the same.
He wasn't the same. I still blame those doggone ring stars.
Right, but he still won like what 3 diamonds after that. So that's what was crazy.
He still won, but he wasn't as
but see,
dominant as
even
he was.
in the ring stars, listen, this is Jason Borelli, and I don't know if anybody loves Jason Borelli. You know, like I love the guy, right? As a competitor,
right?
Since you brought up ring stars, the debut event of those dang things when they were literal bricks on your feet, and they wanted us to go to the battle and put those things on because we all did that 16-man super fight thing, and like. We're all looking at each other like, hey, I'm wearing these dang things. These things are bricks.
Wearing shoes to kick people.
Yeah.
Shoes.
And Jason went out there wearing like a size too big, right? When we're all like, I ain't wearing those things. Went and axe kicked us in the face with bricks, right?
Yeah.
Like it was just no problem. And then like a few weeks later, won the super fight and the diamond ring with the same dang bricks on his feet. So and that was 05. So yeah, his dominance for like a whole year, like you would typically see him, right? Was like, I guess it was probably 04. It was probably the last time he really beat Ray consistently, where you were like, dang, Ray, you gotta change something against him, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like his dominance for like it was him and Ray, but even though Ray was still winning more consistently, it was him and Jason were like that, and then
Jason could beat him.
Would just pop up and then destroy everything, and then walk away, and you wouldn't see his ass.
Right.
So it's just kind of like, wait, what's just happening?
Go in there with anger and beat everybody and leave.
Well, and also let's be honest too. Like Jason became more known for a while as a team fighter because of the success of the teams compared to Raymond with Paul Mitchell. You know what I mean? And then even when he wasn't fighting with Paul Mitchell, he would lose to them. You know, so because. Again, there was a time where Raymond was doing NBL and NASCA and had his own team, you know, Showtime, right? So there was that, right? So, I mean, there's just so many things of like.
So here's the thing. I'm going to ask this question is where do you put Ross?
Yeah, that's a hard.
Because Ross had a nice long journey and run and was consistently winning. So. But it didn't feel like he was dominant. Him and Avery have that. Avery and to a certain extent, Jotty had these runs, but they didn't feel like they were just over. You knew that they were going to win, or that people thought they were going to win, but in their favor to win. But it didn't feel like as dominant as like a Ray or Nasty. Or
well, you know why? Because Ray was still active. And
but that's why I think the argument for Ross.
There was an argument of who was the best at that time, right?
But I think that just increases the argument for Ross because.
So would you put Bailey over Ross then?
That's the hardest because Ross was beating Ray, which I will say Ray's number one, right? But
yes, I'm saying
my eyes see Ross beating Ray in 2010, 2011 when it's like. Ray is the best, right?
Correct.
And jeez.
Ray was the best. Ray had entered into the stage of where I think Avery is right now, where you're doing something. You've done it for so long, you're doing something completely different at this point. Like Ray was going into the full contact realm, and he would pop back in and pop back out and then pop back in, and he just wasn't fighting consistently.
Yeah.
And in that realm, like Jeff was talking about, Ross will be winning when Ray wasn't there. And sometimes Ross will win if Ray was there. But for the most part, when Ray showed up, Ray would still win. And then he'd be gone for, 6-7 months. And then he was just like, all right, it is what it is. Exactly. And then Ross ended up being that way. He would pop back in on some random stuff in 2014 and win and then go away. And it's like, it's just what you do. But
let's think about this. How many people last year would have had overall lightweight grands if Bailey wouldn't have?
He showed you.
Weight. Wouldn't have just.
That's what I'm saying. He showed you. He just
like like you know what I mean, like. And I mean,
like he did it this weekend. Like a diamond, same thing, right? Didn't do it this weekend. Didn't do it at the Diamonds. And I'm talking to him like, dude, isn't that your division over there? Is that your ring? What are you doing over here? And he just full straight face is like, oh yeah, I'm not doing that.
No, I remember
you're not doing
2
that.
Years ago. 2 years I was at King of New York. I will never forget this. I was at King of New York. I'm sitting there recording, and he's literally bored. He's looking at me after the fight and be like, nah. He said, oh, no, I don't want to break. I want to fight back to back everybody. And you can tell he's just like, I'm making a challenge for me because I know I'm going to win. I'm making a challenge for me. And when you get that to be that dominant, you're just kind of sitting there like, well, hold up. Where are you at this point? Like, right. Like, it's just.
I mean, I have a hard time not putting him in the top 5. Like, I mean, there are people that I grew up loving that, but when you really look at his accomplishments, but then you also, again, like I said in the beginning, you also have to weigh in on what's different, what's there. But this dude's active, right? Like when you're talking about someone, how hard is that to fly from Europe, fly over back to Toronto and win? It's like that's something that no one was doing.
That's what I'm saying. He's searching for challenges.
The only thing close to that would be someone like Nasty, who would go and do 3 to 4 tournaments in the same weekend.
Right?
No. So
well, here's some. Let's throw out some names that we can confidently say, all right, this person's great, but I think Bailey's better than them. Right?
It's only 2 for me.
I love Trevor. I think Trevor's great. I think Bailey's better. Right?
Yes, I think he's had more accomplishments, and I think that. But I would say that he. As a whole of a career, I think that Bailey's career is better than Trevor's.
I think that's the way we have to start saying it. The whole as a career, right?
And it doesn't mean that in a match head to head that because that's a whole different.
Because that's
that
where
would be
it's like,
fight.
It'd be a great one, right?
It'd be a very interesting fight.
But then another one
because of go ahead.
Where you'd have to say, let's not look at like who would win between these two, which is also kind of hard. We're talking about fighting, but when you look at the career, I think you got to say he's better than Jotty.
Yeah. I mean,
that's hard to do too. You know what I mean?
And
that's not to say because Jotty took a bunch of L's. No, he just had a handful of years where he just wasn't there. So while we can say, oh yeah, I mean, if Jotty would have been at 6 tournaments that year, he could have won 4 of them. But probably. But but it didn't happen, so I can't just like gift someone 4 other tournaments a year. You know what I mean? So
I think that would be
a great one.
That would be a good fight. Honestly, I'm thinking about how that fight would play out. That would be a very good fight.
So can I ask something like who? Again, I think Raymond had Ross. He had Jason, right? Nasty obviously had, Richard, Billy Blanks, Terry, AP, all these guys. Who would you say are the ones pushing Bailey?
This is the hard.
There's only been 3. Enrique to me is
kind of
is the Jason to his Raymond.
Exactly. Yep. That's what
Perfect. Perfect analogy on both ends.
Yeah,
that's what
he can, but it's going to be sporadic. And when he's not there, it's clearly Enrique is top dog.
Correct.
It's like
Correct.
it's clear that
he's like has to be
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, but I will say this: Enrique being on Paul Mitchell
does help him.
I need to see them fight each other more.
Yeah.
Because whether people like Damon or not, he gets the best out of those people, competitors, and I've seen some growth in him.
Yeah,
just being on this team this year, and how he fought, and the switching of styles when he fought different people. Because he was aggressive. I can't remember who was at. I think it was at Ocean State. He was fighting somebody, and I was sitting there when I was doing the live. He was aggressive, but as opposed to him just picking apart certain things. No, he was aggressive when he fought, and he was pushing. But we'll get maybe I'll talk about that another time. But yeah, I think Enrique. But as far as who pushes him, I think
Tyreek.
It was. I think for Bailey, it was he wanted to prove he was better than Elijah. He wanted to prove he was better than Avery.
Yep.
Right. Those two were the ones that he was really trying to prove that he was better than.
Yes.
And because of that, that was kind of his push and keeping Tyreek and Enrique back. Like, no, y'all still not here. Back up. Y'all still not on my level. I'm going after the big dogs. And when he got past, when he would fight Cam, when he got over the hesitancy of Cam blasting him. It turned into like, okay, I'm just going to use skills I know here, and then I'm going to move my head so you don't catch me on the second. I'm going to score first and move in and out.
And I think that was why, Travis, he wanted to only focus on open weight. So he had to fight those guys. So he could say, hey, I'm not just winning my division and not beating them, or I'm losing open weight but winning this grand, which early in his career, that's what would happen sometimes, right? So
So I think I honestly I would say that those were the people who pushed him. Now what happens next, I don't know, but and going over and the Elijah thing, and then Elijah just retiring, and it's like, all right, well, let me just beat up on everybody else over here. Let me prove that I can still win. And right now, I think Martin is a fight. Martin Ballant is one of the people who's pushing him. I think, of course, Ricardo is pushing him. And then there's another fighter, I can't think of who it is, that's over there. That's it's not Martin or Ricardo. I can't think of his name right now. But there's another fighter that's over there that's pretty good. That
same like Hungary or different.
I think he's British, but I can't remember. I honestly I have to go back and look at the results. But I think there's another person over there that is a competitor. But I'm not going to say that he's not. They're not better than Bailey, but I think they are the ones that keep him on his toes over there, and they present a bigger challenge than the guys over here. Because I think sometimes these guys over here are showing too much respect toward him and not hungry. And I think Elijah is one of the people. I mean, not Elijah, but Enrique is one of the people who is hungry to beat him.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, this was good.
Yeah. Okay. So, it's hard for me to say.
I mean, I don't know about putting him at. I may put him at 3 or 4. So.
I'm
saying I think he's jumped in the top 10.
Before this conversation, my list went Ray, Nasty, Jason.
Really?
Wow.
You have Jason that high?
I don't. I'm talking to Alex.
Honestly,
of course I did.
I don't. I would not put Jason over Pedro or.
Why?
I wouldn't put him over Jason. I wouldn't put him. I mean, I wouldn't put him over Pedro. I wouldn't put him over Jotty. I wouldn't put him over Mike P. To be honest with you.
So I would. See,
you wouldn't put Jason above.
I've seen Jason beat both of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't put Jason above them. And honestly,
So that's why I would put him over those two.
The only one
that what now?
I've seen Jason beat them a bunch of times and many times, and that's why I would say, I would put him over them.
Jotty is the wild card.
Yeah,
I've seen Jotty beat Jason easily.
Oh, I have too.
I have too. I remember watching at Bluegrass. It was like 02 where I mean,
yes, Jack Buckley. Yeah.
CJ
Thanks,
Jack
Angel.
Buckley. Jack Buckley is very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jack's good.
Where this was in teams, CJB was up by like 1,000, and Jotty was fighting Jason in the final round, and I think Jotty might have scored 12 points. Right,
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
you know which one I'm talking about too, don't you, Jeff? You were
Yeah,
you were probably on the sideline, and anything Jason did, Jotty scored. All right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it was like they were up by so much and it didn't matter. But like Jason was there was no point. Jason was trying to score on every single moment, and Jotty just had him. Jotty's the freaking wild card because he has an answer
Yeah.
for everyone.
That's why I think that it would be a very interesting fight between Jotty and Bailey, because Bailey's style is very reminiscent of Ray's. There's there are a lot of similarities in how they want to close the gap. But the thing about Ray is that Ray's 6'2", right? Like and he has that speed.
Right.
So it made things difficult for somebody like Jotty, who's trying to time and doing everything technically sound, versus Bailey, who's going in, but Bailey has that same style that gave Jotty some issues. So it would have been an interesting thing, but it's a possibility. It could have been like it's the same thing when Bailey fought Jack, right? It was a different. Jack is so used to that style, it's not uncomfortable for him. But when Jack fought Ray, Ray's 6'2", like it's just like it just comes down to that.
Because I think Jack beat Bailey pretty good when they did that pro point thing, right?
Yes, and then the tournament after that, Bailey beat Jack.
Yeah,
right.
I think it was that. Yeah, and it was like, okay, so all right,
Was
but
it
Bailey is a completely different fighter now.
Yeah,
than he was. So, it just that's one of those hypotheticals of like right when Canelo fought Floyd.
right.
Yes.
Canelo was young.
Good example.
Right.
Wow, very
And
good
you don't know when Canelo finally reached his peak, how that fight would have gone. It's just kind of it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Well, no,
top 10.
we
Alex,
didn't figure out where he lands.
No, we don't have to. That wasn't the point of this. We're just putting in those conversations.
Yeah, we want everybody else to chime in and start talking about it. Like, yo,
Because-
what do we think? What do you guys think? Has Bailey done enough in his thing that he's top 10 point fighters of all time? Or do you? Because I think Leandro said he's like top 3, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, some of these guys were ruthless. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, So,
I mean, again, some people are going to a lot of people put Ray McCallum in their top 5. Top, I mean, Keith Vitelli, I know. I mean, I talked to certain people from, like you tell Marty Knight, that's the greatest of all, Marty Knight's, I know that's the greatest I've ever seen, was Keith Vitelli. Like a lot of people in the South and other, because that guy was someone else who won multiple years. Right. So it depends. What?
Trav, we did this at the battle, like, oh geez, that was like 10 years ago now, when you did the main point and you went around to everybody top 5 all time. Remember this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think if I were to do it again today, because I remember some of the names. No, I think I'm putting him in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I remember like
so
Nikki Carlson Lee was one of mine. And I'm like, I don't even feel bad about that. Like, I understand who I put there, but like, I don't like, yeah.
So I'm gonna ask this question because a couple people have jumped in there, like was it Gianluca?
Yeah, that's John Plea.
Okay. And
I gave him up.
Leandro. They both are like, okay, yeah, so he's easily top 3 in top. Would you put him over Elijah?
No, that's the thing, right? I know.
There's a grenade. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Would you put him over Elijah? It's just like, I'm not saying
that's why it's not easy.
It's not an easy call. No question. I'm like, no, really,
because it's not that easy.
Would you throw him in there over that? Like, that's a is what it is. But
here's what would make it really hard. What would make it really hard would be if when Elijah when he did fight this year, if he would have entered the lightweight division and then won that lightweight overall, then you'd have to be like, wow, what the hell, right? But that's why we're sitting here going,
I have a feeling. I'm curious. I wonder if he's going to fight again.
He has to.
So most of the things he's doing right now are like he's doing Waco full contact. Like he's because I don't think the karate combat things happen anymore. So for him, he'll probably end up doing the total combat thing eventually, like Robbie is. That's probably what he's going to do next.
It probably is.
Yeah.
It probably is a recency bias.
Yeah.
But that's the point of this. Like, because there's so many great fighters that have come along and like let's be honest. Jason's legacy would be so much bigger if Raymond did not compete consistently.
Right.
Like Jason would have won a lot more. Jotty would have won a lot more. Trevor would have won. Brian Plimple would have won. Preston would have. Like you got all of these great.
Yeah,
a lot of people who would have gotten a chance to eat.
And Ray took that. Like, no, I'm dominating this side. So it's kind of like, okay. And the same thing goes for what Bailey's doing now.
Right.
I think Tyreek would have ate a lot more. You know what I mean? Enrique would have ate a lot more.
Enrique, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Where do you put Kevin Walker? Let me ask you that.
That is another one.
That's all.
Because Kevin has won everything. I'm just curious, where would y'all put him?
This is gonna. Honestly, I'm gonna need a week to really put my top 10, and that's why I can't. We're not in this till we. I don't know because I really like. There's so many that can look at. Because again, like there's just years and years
we are looking at their whole body of work, but we're talking about strictly point fighting. We are talking about there because some people use Ray's full contact success as a way of saying he's better than Nasty. So
right, and so I don't feel
and a way for people to say about Joe Lewis and Keith Vitale, and
right.
We get into a lot of different things.
But that's another reason why.
Think of his point fight. They don't put it in. You know what I mean?
But that's another reason why when we had that top kickers list, and I didn't put Bill Wallace on there, and everybody lost their mind, and I'm like, he wasn't a top kicker in point fighting, right? The guy skipped up, and did low high round kicks in kickboxing and just blew those guys out of the water, right? Because those guys just stood still and kicked, right?
Yeah.
But Bill made it look like he had a magic foot, which he kind of did. But in the point fighting world, right, the space increases by triple, the speed increases by triple. You can't do those things.
I got one question because this is going to be interesting because this person lost. He didn't win grands because of Nasty, because of Anthony. What do you, Tony Young?
Right.
He would get to the final and then get beat by one of the big heavyweights.
Right.
But if he had the
if there was a lightweight grand back in the day, he would have had.
He would have had a lot. So the question. So then, where do you put Bailey over Tony? And I'm gonna throw one other person out there, Zolt. Because Zolt dominated in Waco. He came over here and he was winning over here. So I know you're not a fan, but his accomplishments are big. So where do you put Zolt?
Right.
I'm gonna be complimentary to Zolt right now, and I want to say this. Zolt, I'm gonna be complimentary, all right? Because Zolt has all the awards, all right? And one thing I love about Zolt is that if there's a knock, you go, all the guy has is just this really high chamber, and the guy's kicking, but it's predictable. But it's like dang near impossible. Unless you have a certain style, like you can't just say like, he has the high chamber. And it never goes down. Now
Right.
what?
Mhm.
All right. Because you'd be like, all right, I'll just wait till that chamber goes down. No, you're not. It ain't going
Right.
to happen. Right.
Right.
So, and he perfected that craft. The reason why I personally would look at Zolt and go, I think it's fool's gold, is because I personally would just look at the way I would kick and I would go, I'm a better kicker than that. All right. I can do
Yeah, but we're
more.
not talking about better kickers.
I
Talking about better
understand
fighters.
this. I understand this. But I would look at Zolt and go, I can do more things than you can do. All right. Because you do this thing better than me and better than everyone else in the world. I can do more things than you can do. Right. I would look at Trevor Nash and be like, you can't touch what that guy can do. That guy could kick circles around you. That is why someone like who fights like me would look at Zolt and go, fool's gold.
Okay.
But
well, I just read this from Angel.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, Angel, pump your brakes. As much as Ross has accomplished, he hasn't accomplished more than Nasty and Raymond. So we just start there. So
I had conversations with guys. I don't want to completely out them, but I probably will. Right? That said, Ross Levine is probably the best fighter ever. I'm like, ooh, you sure about that? And they're like, the guy had, and this is what they said about him. The guy had 3 moves: back fist punch and side kick. And he pretty much just did 2.
Right. I mean, listen, when you really look at what all he accomplished, he won a lot, right?
He won a lot.
He won a lot.
He won a lot.
So
But
I
do not believe he won overseas like that.
No.
Back Gregorio, DeLeo.
Yeah.
Like, I can't use words like beat him or like expose, but like he exposed the big difference between what fighting in the States is like and what using that fighting culture in Europe is like. And Gregorio like figured that out, and just Ross did not have an answer for it.
You know what?
You're right.
Let's do this. I just thought about this because I think this is going to be
but he probably would have eventually, but
a great topic, and we can say and try and come up and say who are the top 25.
Yeah.
We should do that.
We're in 225 next week. Let's say you guys come up with who are your top 25 point fighters of all time.
Well, let's look. This is great. What are we looking at here? Okay, so then
because next week I don't want to put it over. Do you guys have that? Do you guys have a schedule for next week? Because I don't think it's no tournaments next week, is it?
No. We're gonna have some tequila on there because it's Cinco de Mayo, and then I got this bottle upstairs that is something.
I got a place across the street that stays jumping for tacos, and next Monday is gonna be ridiculous.
So maybe 2 weeks.
I got this bottle upstairs. Let's get on to it. Jalapeno flavored.
Yo, Alex, we still got to do our
list. All right, we'll do that. All right, so next let's put a pin in this. And next week when we go live, guys, we're gonna do our top 25. The Alfie Lewis thing is it's actually a really, really good topic. And personally, I'm going to be transparent. I don't know where to put him.
Yeah, I haven't
seen. Okay, let me ask you guys.
I had to do some digging. I just
do you put Alfie over Alvin Mighty? Because I know a lot of people talk about Alfie. I'm just curious. Do people put Alfie over Alvin Mighty?
The hard part is because Alfie was like Wilt Chamberlain, right?
Right.
Because it's like, how do you knock Alfie, right? How do you knock Wilt? But it's like Wilt Chamberlain was, ran like a 4.40 and he was 7'3", scores 78 points and 44 rebounds. But the next guy he was going against was 5'9". Of course, you're going to have 28 blocks.
Dang.
So, but then it's like, how's that Wilt's fault? How's that Alfie's fault?
Right.
That's why it's like it's such a hard thing. And the biggest and Jerry Fontenez said this a lot, like, we don't have enough tapes for
Right.
what we do. Like we should be able to go back and watch some of this stuff. I mean, we gotta get Wally Faulkner on here, right? Because Wally, he's got a lot of these tapes. He doesn't
Angel,
have
do
them
you
all.
think that's the only time they fought?
What you said that was the only time?
I'm asking, is that the
No,
only time they?
I thought that.
No, that's exactly that's what I'm getting at.
I don't believe it.
Like,
I don't think Nasty has a losing record against anybody.
I don't think that's my point. Like,
Yeah.
Nope, nobody.
That dude
wasn't Nasty in heavyweight, and he was in light heavyweight for a while. Is that what it was? I think at Waco's.
And that's why I brought up Alvin Mighty, because Alvin Mighty was the heavyweight over in Europe that was dominating. He was a Waco Pro champion, and I'm like, he was the guy. So that's where I was like, do you put him over? I mean, do you guys put Alfie over Alvin?
All right.
Probably.
That's one of those questions I can't answer because I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So top 25. I'm legitimately excited about this. Might say some. I'm gonna have some tequila next week, so I don't know. I might say some crazy stuff. Who knows?
Oh man, you killed me. All right.
Killing you might kill myself. Who knows? We'll find out. Who knows what I'll say?
All right, you want to do this quick list for 4 minutes, and then that way we can get out of here.
Let's do it.
All
right. The cheat 720.
Hey, Travis. My time codes are all messed up. You'll have to track that one.
That's fine. That's fine.
I have when we started talking about that.
Okay.
All right.
I will go first because I feel like I can do mine a little quicker. But I can promise you don't have the same as mine. So that's what sometimes I'm like, I'm gonna make the top 5 that I think is the case, and I'm pretty sure you should have my number 1 in yours. All right. I have a couple of honorable mentions. My one honorable mention is Matt Emig. All right. Matt Emig he's the cleanest tricker my eyes have ever seen. Right. So you could kind of put Matt Emig on any list. Right. So if I had to look, but the other 5 that I have that are above him, like there's a big reason why. The other honorable mention I have is Chris Devera. Now we're talking about all these top 5s for anything trick related. Like you could put Chris Devera on some of these as well because he's that dang good. Crazy. All right. At number 5, and one of the reasons I have for Chris Devera is Chris Devera would do his, and he'd be so high in the air, right? So a lot of the guys would do like the cheat 720. It was basically like a tornado kick, but then they just kind of like hurry up and turn their hip, right? So they're getting like 3 inches off the ground, all right? But Chris Devera's in the air,
right?
Mike, you're right. I will say some crazy stuff with that tequila.
All right, let's go.
I have a tie at number 5. I have a tie at number 5 for both the same reason. I watched Michael Page do a cheat 720 in a point fight. So I'm going to put him on there. And because I put Michael Page on there and he did it in a point fight, guess who else I'm going to put on there as a tie?
Go.
Raymond Daniels, all right? Because he did it like a cheat 720. He just happened to knock that guy out. And
I thought this was best cheat 720s in forms, but okay, fine. It's okay. I don't care.
Then you're really not going to like number 4, right?
Go.
You're really not going to like this. But my number 4 is Scott Adkins.
Has he ever done sport karate?
No. But we're talking about the move, man.
No, we've said in sport karate. We're not picking trickers outside of our sport that do this, which we could have done.
I
It was
just
in
made
sport
Jeff
karate.
really angry. Maybe
Oh
Jeff.
my God.
So,
Go.
well,
Well, yeah,
think
you
about
named
it. The
Mac and
guys
two
that
of
the
honorable
guys that
mentions were, never mind. Go ahead. Two of the best. Go.
well, I agree, but I mean, listen, when the guy's throwing it, when you're watching,
I get it. That's great. That's great. Move on. Go.
oh my gosh,
Go to number 3.
Anis Shuerfa,
Okay.
Anis Shuerfa, the longest
You on
legs,
any of them? Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
longest legs ever, super clean. Number 2, my runner up is Mike Welch, right? I think the way he threw his front leg, his right leg, because he would do it with a left leg hook kick,
Yeah.
right? He threw his right leg, making it look like he's gonna do the kick, and would pull his knee inward, and then he just got so much really good snap on
Mike
that.
Welch, good ones.
Mike Welch, probably one of the best. Well, he is the second best, because my best is Mark Canonizato, right? Mark Canonizato,
Yeah.
best cheat 720 of all time. Love it. What do you
I
got?
didn't. Okay. Mark Anzaldo should have been on one of these, but all right, he's on my honorable mentions. So since you have some high level people in honorable mention, all right, I have a lot of honorable mentions. All right, so I got some new flavor in there. Dawson Holt.
I didn't make your list.
No, so Dawson Holt is someone who right now has a great cheat 720 in this time.
I actually looked at that.
Philip Roumet is someone who has a great cheat 720 right now. Someone who was really close. And honestly, I still kind of want to put him in my top 5, but he did it a lot in his weapon, but he did a lot of different versions of it in his form. And that was Daniel Sterling. Daniel Sterling had a great cheat 720, his height, his pump, everything. Right.
I slept on that. That's a great point.
Someone who right now is doing great cheat 720s and showing that that's something she wants to put in her form. And I just, again, this will be my Instagram one. Haley Glass is doing them a lot. She just posted a bunch of good ones, so I had to put her in there because of that. Steve Terada, his cheat 720 was just wild and crazy, like most of the things he does. So I would put him on the honorable mention.
That's what's wild for me, because I was looking for Steve Terada ones, and I feel like they got lost in the mix because of everything else that he did.
Exactly. Oh, I know.
Like he'd do like a cheat 720 like so fast that like your eyes didn't see it, and then he'd do a double twist. Right. I'm like, you forget that he even did the cheat 720.
So for me, after that was someone you have number 2. I have in my honorable mentions Mike Welch, because he didn't do it as often. He did it in his younger years, and then so
this guy did it with a bow in his hand.
I know, it's freaking sick. So I give him, he's up there. Jennifer Santiago, because that was, and Hector Santiago, because they were the first 2.
They were the first.
I saw do it, and then Tim Conkle, because of his cheat 720 to a split, was always smooth and sick. And then another one that was wild and different was Vince Johnson's. His was good as well, right?
And 100 miles an hour.
And the way he chambered his hook kick was so high, right?
Because most people would go out because of the way that their lead roundhouse kicking leg would go out, and so their hook kick would go straight out. But you're right, he didn't. He would find a way and would go up with it. That's a great.
And then Mark Canonizato is on there as well. So on that list. So my top 5. I didn't really have order, but I'm going to go order. All right. So number 5, Rudy Raynon. All right. His cheat 720. He could be number 1. Any of these could be number 1. Just the smoothness, everything he does is just great, right? Number 4 to me, Jeff Spricko. I
thought about this.
I think his, it was just so smooth, and then just he did so many different variations of it. And then I mean, watching the team form where him and Mike do the sweep cheat 720, one goes while sweeping while the other one's doing the cheat, and then they alternate. Still one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
So when I was going through this, help me with this. I'm looking at that. Do you think Jeff's was better than Mike's?
Yeah, it's just a different version. So
because I think
Mike did it in a way.
Yeah.
So I think Mike did it, and his was more hook kick with the heel, and Jeff's was more pointing with the toes. So it really just depends on which way you
because
like.
Jeff's so much longer.
Yeah.
When you end up doing that and point the toes,
Right.
it just makes everything look so much better.
Right.
I think for me it was Mike when Mike was doing it with the bow. I think that's what set it over.
And
the
honestly,
top for me.
today I didn't watch any of that. I was looking at other things. So on that part,
Yeah.
when I was trying to study and all right, number 3 to me, John Valera. Like it's just smooth. His cheat 7 was smooth. And he would do it a lot of times in his weapon and later on, like his last year, like 98, 99. And then
But it's
number
not better
3,
than his pop. His pop 720 is better.
I didn't say it was. It didn't have to be better than that.
I know.
You can only have one kick that you can.
I know. All right. Yeah,
All right.
here we are. We put Matt Emick on 9 lists.
The 2 people that you have as your honorable mentions are mine 1 and 2. So
Really,
Matt Emming's cheat 720 split is one of the smoothest and best things ever.
Yeah,
and he's number 2. And Chris, the only person I think that has a better cheat 720 split is Chris Tavera, because
those are my only 2 honorable mentions.
So it's like those 2 were just insane to me, right? So, yeah. So it was. There's still some that I think could be on there. There's a lot of good.
You know, we probably both forgot about was Daniel Graham.
Yes, Daniel Graham had a great cheat 720 as well. He has a lot of great things. So I always
he does.
Yeah.
I
think there's a lot of moves that we could go back and do. It's very simple, but I guess this whole week we're going to be working that top 25 list, and it's going to be wild and crazy. So join in,
honestly, I don't think we should do a move next week. I think we should focus on the top 25.
Oh yeah, we are. We're not doing a move.
We're not doing a move next week, guys.
All right,
top 25. I don't know.
Men. Top 25 men, right? We're not doing all fighters. No, because
we'll do women another time, because
right now it's going to be men.
They deserve their own.
Yeah,
and let's not. They don't compete against each other. Let's not put them together.
Right. Exactly.
All
right. Thank you guys for who joined us for YouTube. We're going to put some different shorts out and different things out for you guys, so you know what's going on. Those are listening podcasts. We sorry it's a long one, but this was a good one.
But this is what I'm talking. Mike's always with us on YouTube. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
Mike is always on YouTube.
He doesn't go to the book face.
All right. Let's go.
This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you next week.